Hello, friends. It's Ric Beattie. I'm the senior minister here at Unity of Royal Oak, and it is a privilege and an honor to bring you this midweek experience. In the past, it's been primarily a meditation, and recently I've felt led to do some more teaching than just simply a meditation. So, probably because there are lots of people who do amazing meditations, and mine is okay. It's a kind of a basic one, but I love to teach, and this Lent time is a perfect time, I think, to share some concepts with you, some ideas. And I hope that you are using this booklet, Release and Renew, a spiritual practice for Lent 2021. This is from Unity World Headquarters. And if you're local to us and you don't have the booklet, there are some in our book nook right on our circular drive. In the front of the sanctuary, so I invite you to come by and get one. So I'm going to share some concepts with you. This book is designed so that there are pairs. One day is something to release, and the next day is something to renew. Release and renew, it's called, so it's appropriate. And such an appropriate journey for Easter, I think. So for today, February the 24th, 2021, by the way, if you're local here in Michigan, hasn't it been an interesting day? It started out warm and then got warmer, past 50. A lot of the snow has melted, and now it's getting cold again. So this is that time of rapid changes that marks the beginning of the end of winter here in Michigan, and I remember it well. Anyway, pardon me. So for Wednesday, February 24th, 2021. So the concept is I release negative thinking. And in the past, I've talked about let's eliminate negative thinking. That's Lent, like in terms of giving something up. What could I give up? It's not bubble gum. It's not chocolate or cake or candy or whatever, meat. We did that, as I mentioned last week, because I grew up as a Roman Catholic, and I don't have any issue with it. I liked all the smells and bells. Every once in a while, I still sneak out to Mass. But I want to read to you a little bit in this particular pair. So Wednesday the 24th is I release negative thinking. Thursday the 25th is I renew my positive expectations. So you see it's a pair. And they're written by Reverend Evan Wilkins from Unity of Madison, Wisconsin. And I've talked to him. I've not met him yet, I don't think, but neat guy. So I'm just going to read what he wrote here. Nothing ever goes right, in quotes. We've all likely met people who make similar statements. And you and I both know them, don't we? That nothing is ever right. I call them the Dowdy Downer, the Debbie Downer. That person who's fixated on that life is against them. And the challenge, of course, is that if you think that life is against you, you're right, it is. It isn't a personal thing. It isn't like picking on you, but if that's your predominant thinking, if that's your mindset, if that's the energy you're holding, if that's the consciousness that you operate from, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. That's our law of mind action in Unity. Some folks call that the law of attraction. Same idea. He continues, you know the type, the sky always seems to be falling and nothing ever seems to be going well. Unfortunately, these statements often reveal negative thinking that ultimately attracts precisely the things they didn't wish to attract. It describes the person he's saying that he used to be. He had worked in a job that left him feeling unhappy and depleted. Anybody been there? I worked 31 years in manufacturing. I enjoyed my work. I worked at it with a vengeance, and not only in my family, but when I moved to California and I worked for a big aerospace company and moved up the management chain. But nothing that made my heart sing, not like what I do today. Eventually, he says, I began to realize that my unhappiness was a result of my consistent negative thinking. I began to ask myself questions. Did I really want to continue my life steeped in that type of thinking? Didn't I realize that I was so much more? Friends, I think if there's anything that I could share with you, and I've told you before, I can't teach you about God. God is a verb. God is an experience. God is a state of being that each of us must engage for ourselves. I can't teach that to you. I can share with you what works for me. I can share with you that over time I have evolved. That the spiritual practices when I began this journey back in 1976, I didn't mean the journey in earnest when I discovered unity at Unity of the Infinite Presence, the precursor to the Church of today. I learned that I was choosing my life moment by moment by moment, thought by thought by thought. That's why I love the song that we sing on Sundays called Our Thoughts Are Prayers. It was written by my dear friend, Reverend Lucille Olson, up in Lansing, and it's based on some concepts from A Course in Miracles. So let's look at the other side, and then I'll share some ideas, and then we'll have a brief meditation. So for Thursday, then, so the pair of opposites, I renew my positive expectations. I remember the day I finally realized that I needed to take control of my thinking if I wanted to truly take control of my life. I've had experiences like that. Sometimes they've been like hitting rock bottom, and I've had many. And for a while I skipped along the bottom before I kind of picked myself up, dusted myself off, and realized that I am my greatest advocate and my own worst enemy, both. I am my worst enemy, period, and I'm my greatest advocate, period. So I can choose. I have the power to choose where I focus my attention, what I focus my time, effort, and energy on. Reverend Evan continues on. I was living in Washington State, and the beauty of the lush greenery and snow-capped mountains often left me in a state of awe and deep gratitude. While hiking one day, I stopped to enjoy the scenery of a beautiful river, and just as I was preparing my camera for photographs, I saw a bald eagle soaring over the water. What a sight to behold. And friends, if you've never seen a bald eagle flying in the wild, it's amazing. And we're fortunate here in Michigan. We have lots of eagles. Since DDT was eliminated long ago, eagles have made a huge comeback. And one day, about 3 years ago in my yard out in Rochester Hills, Michigan, I saw an eagle circling the neighborhood. And I haven't seen it since, maybe one time. But we have lots of other raptors, lots of hawks and things. But eagles are amazing. When I was the minister at Unity of Clare long ago, I was headed a back road from Clare over to I-75 to go home, a different way, because I get tired of going the same way all the time. And it was winter. And winter in mid-Michigan, the snow can get very deep. And so they take huge snow blowers, the mounted to trucks. They're huge. And they basically tunnel through. And so you've got these walls on both sides of you of snow over the top of my truck. Back then I drove a truck. One of these days I'll have a truck again because I love them. Anyway, flying straight down the road at me, headed west, in this kind of tunnel of snow, it didn't have a top on it, but the sides, was a bald eagle flying. And I shared that with a friend of mine who told me it was a great omen, because I was in a place of trying to discern what was mine to do. That was my first paid ministerial gig as a minister of a community. And it was the beginning of an amazing time of transformation that continues even now. So an eagle flying is an amazing thing. That eagle knew its splendor, Reverend Evans says. It seemed to behold its freedom and ability to fly. It wasn't going to allow anything to hinder its flight. And I decided then and there to do the same thing. I knew in that moment I was also a splendid, magnificent being. My sisters and brothers, you are splendid, magnificent beings. And what keeps us from living from that place is our own thinking and the things that we hold on to. Last Sunday I spoke about forgiveness and how important it is to forgive ourselves and all other people. We can never move beyond the past as long as we hang on to it and drag it with us. Lent is a time of preparation, a time to deepen spiritual practice, a time to realize our magnificence. I think if we could wake up to that, it would boggle our minds. The truth of it would just boggle our minds. Our first principle is God is. One presence, one power, this one that is everything, all good, omnipresence. That's our first principle. And the second one is that I am a reflection. I am that which God is. I'm a reflection of God, a unique outforming, and perhaps not just a reflection like of a light, but the expression of that life force. You see, I was raised to think of God as an old man somewhere far away in the sky. And then during Star Wars, I kind of thought of it, well, it's kind of like Yoda. Maybe I'll find the planet where Yoda lives on. Maybe I'll find the planet where God lives. The reality, friends, is right where you are, God is. Right where I am, God is. That's the truth. There's no place to get to. But it is ours to express that presence, that power, that life energy, or not. Long ago, I heard many times, many different speakers say, it is impossible to soar with eagles if you're running with turkeys or running with chickens, if you're keeping yourself in the chicken coop, if you're keeping yourself connected to the less than. You're more than you've ever dreamed. And if I could wave a magic wand and give you that knowledge, I would. I would. The reality is you have to discover it. And we all discover it in different ways. Sometimes the alcoholic discovers it by hitting bottom and by realizing that's not who they are, that there's something more, a higher power. And you have a higher power in you, as you, waiting. The interesting thing is that presence, that life that is God, that energy pattern, that all in all that is God. And please understand that God is not the name of the divine presence. The divine presence has many words that point to it. But the divine presence is the very life that lives us. I often, in my writing, I think about that life with a capital L that lives me, and how grateful I am for it. And how grateful I've been for this journey of self-discovery, because it really is a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey of identifying the things, the thought patterns that no longer serve you and releasing them, using the power of elimination to release them. And then you can choose again. You can replace them with something brand new. Attitudes are just habits of thinking. And we get stuck in a rut, at least I do. I mean, it happens pretty quickly. I'm amazed. And the more awake and aware I am, the more quickly I realize that I can get stuck in a rut very quickly. Very quickly. So we can release what was. We can embrace these two affirmations. I release negative thinking. Now, it's one thing to say that. It's another thing altogether to become aware enough of your thinking, of what's going on in your mind. You see, many of us have trained ourselves to not look in the dark recesses, in the corners of our mind. I think of it like a Thomas's English muffin. Remember the commercials? Full of nooks and crannies. My mind is full of nooks and crannies. And I can put things into a place where I barely notice them. Why? It's a distraction, I think. It's a not wanting to deal with whatever the feeling was, whatever the issue was. I have a dear friend who's working through big grief issues, and I know that this person at one point hoped to sidestep the working through them, but it doesn't work that way. It can't. You see, because as long as it's there, it's hanging out in the back of our mind somewhere, and then every once in a while it pops up. Remember the whammets, the pop-ups, the poppets that kids used to play with? You'd smack it with a hammer and it would pop up over here. Thoughts and feelings, unhealed places are like that. And I'll never forget the very first time I met Martha Creek. She said something to me that I've had layers of understanding and layers of peeling away. She made this statement in a meeting that I was at of leaders over at another community that I served a number of years ago. She said, if you have done 99% of your work towards healing, and at that point I'd done a lot of work, maybe you've done a lot of work on yourself. She said this, 100% of your pain comes from the 1% that's left. This Lenten season, I hope that you are determined to find that 1%. Whatever percent in you that is not yet healed, not yet whole, and work at that. Work at loving yourself, because it really is. It's love. It's not beating yourself up. It's not a negative thing. I used to think of it as a negative thing. It's like I just don't want to go there. I don't want to look there. So I want to be happy, 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 happy. Well, you've heard me say this probably. It doesn't do any good to jump to pink ponies and purple merry-go-rounds. We have to move through our time. That's why we have a grief and loss support group here that meets via Zoom on the 2nd and 4th Mondays. That's why unity stresses spiritual practices. Practice, practice, practice makes progress. Doesn't make perfection. But we're working at, we're chipping away at the things that are in the way of us being everything we can. So the affirmation, I release negative thinking, and then I renew my positive expectations. You can fly. You just need to stop telling yourself that you can't. In fact, you were made to fly. You were made to embody and to give form and to give expression to this presence and power that we call God. You are a unique emanation of that one life. And your only job here is to be who you are, to live your life. So let's take just a few moments and move into a time of meditation. I'm going to start some music here, which Kim Lang created for us and that I love. And allow yourself to begin to relax. Allow yourself to become aware of your body. Because not only sometimes are we not aware of our thinkings, but we're just not even aware of our bodies. In space, many of us moving so quickly that we miss what's eternal and important. It isn't about getting a bigger refrigerator. Trust me, I did that long ago. They're expensive, they're hard to keep running, and you got to keep them full. So I gave up on that. I gave up on that life. And when I did that, life in its fullness began to rush up in me, at me, and tantalize me and tempt me to dive in. The water's amazing. So you're designed to fly. And I invite you to begin that process right now with me as we turn our attention away from the outer world that seems bent on telling us that we're less than, that we're too old, too fat, too thin, not pretty enough, not good looking enough, too much hair, no hair. You are a unique reflection of the life that is God. We have many names for that life, but call it whatever you will. Call it life, call it love, call it the universe, call it the Atman, call it the Buddha, call it the Christ. Just call it. And more than just call it, dwell on it, think about it. Let it arise in you. Let it fill your consciousness. So become aware of your body, seated or lying down, wherever you are right now. however you are right now. And notice if there's any stress or tension in your body, and I often get some in my right shoulder. So just as I notice it, I invite that stress, that tension to drain away. Start a scan of your very body from the bottoms of your feet. Start with your soles of your feet. Wiggle your toes and flex your feet and your ankles. Scan up your body, stopping wherever there's some stress or tension, maybe in your knees, thighs and buttocks, maybe in your hips. As we get older, we sometimes feel a little pinch in our hips. Just notice it and release it. Continuing up your body now, scanning that girdle of muscles that surrounds the waist, moving up to the solar plexus, up to your heart. Bless your heart. Put your hand on your heart and just be grateful for it. What an amazing instrument. What an amazing pump. Pumping life-giving oxygen to every cell in your body. Also providing a way as it pushes blood around for the lymphic system to get the waste out of you. I think a lot about how amazing our bodies are, how wonderfully they're made. Continue that scan. Now come around to your back, the small of your back. Just notice the muscles there. Let them relax. The middle of your back, that space between your shoulder blades, your amazing shoulder blades. I've had some challenges with my shoulders in the last 15 years and doing a lot better now. I have a great chiropractor. But the shoulder blades are like no other joint because they're not really a joint. It's bones held together with straps of muscle. Who could figure this stuff out? Yet life has figured it out as it pours itself into being, into expression, pouring itself out as you. For that is the truth of you. You are a unique expression of the life that we call God. You, yeah. My dear friend Kathy Jo, one of my staff members here, says, we're all godlings, and that's the truth. You're a godling. It's time for us to grow up. And we begin by turning our attention away from the noise around us. There's still a lot of noise in our culture. A lot of noise, a lot of divisiveness. Rise above it. Eagles soar higher. They soar above the everyday, the ordinary. So allow yourself to rise up now. Notice your breathing. Just notice your breath, the rhythm of it. And allow yourself to follow your next breath inward to the place where you experience the presence of God. And spend a few minutes with me, with the music and in the stillness of this now moment. If you hear any noise that disrupts you, or if your mind wanders off, and it will, bring it gently back to this now moment, and then follow the next breath inward. As we take a pause here midweek to recharge, to let the life of God revitalize us. To let the love of God love us. To let the peace of God fill us. yourself to soar, unencumbered by any perceived shortcoming or weakness. The eagle begins by stretching its wings and then flapping them and then jumping out of the nest and opening its wings wide and soaring. Perhaps you've long been in the nest, in that place that's safe and secure, familiar. I've noticed during this pandemic that life seems to be inviting us all to spread our wings and jump out of what's comfortable and to become something more. And my beloved, I invite you to consider and remember always that you are a child of God, that you are made in the image and after the likeness of the Most High, and that you reflect that light, that love. It shines from you when you let it. I hope that you are taking something away from this brief teaching, these comments, these thoughts. I love doing this very informally, sitting at my desk. I'm probably going to do more of it in the future, not just on Wednesdays. I challenge you to spread your wings, to fly. If I can help you, I hope that you'll reach out. My email address here at the church is Ric, no K. There's no K in Richard. My name is Richard. So ric@unityofroyaloak.org. That's ric@unityofroyaloak.org. And if you visit our website, there's lots of things going on there. We have a series of graphic images that rotate. All of those are activities. If at the time of the activity you click on the link, it will take you to the Zoom room because everything we're doing is still on Zoom. You'll also find there's some COVID resources, both for mental health issues if you're struggling a little bit. There's some meditations we have on YouTube, these meditations. We're grateful for those who financially make this all possible, because even though we're not meeting in our building right now, and someone said to me, Pastor, why aren't we in the church? I said, well, we are the church. Wherever we are, we're the church. So you and I right now are the church, the gathering of souls. In Greek, it's called the ecclesia. Anyway, we need everybody's participation at whatever level that they feel guided to be involved. While you're at our website, if you feel guided to make a contribution financially to support this work, if you're finding some benefit to it, we invite you to participate. And it doesn't matter. Some can give $10,000 and some a buck. It doesn't matter. That's between you and God. So I invite you to participate at whatever level seems right for you. And again, if I can help you in some way, there's nothing that I love more than watching another person begin the journey of awakening. And once it starts, you can't stop it, because life itself will give you opportunities to awaken. Now let's take a moment as we say a prayer now for the world around us. Almighty God, this past week we've passed a milestone that brings us no joy. More than 500,000 U.S. Americans, 500,000 have died from COVID-19. We're aware of that. We honor their souls, their families, their colleagues, their friends, those people who loved them, the ones they loved. And we're more determined than ever, God, to do what we need to do to bring an end to this pandemic. So help us, move in us, be alive in us, His strength, His power, His wisdom, His imagination, His the power of elimination. Help us to let go of what is keeping us back. And encourage us, God, as you are alive in us, to spread our wings, to fly full out. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. And I hope that right where you are, you'll remember that that's where God is. And you're amazing. Whatever you're doing this week, I hope that you join us on Sunday. My talk is going to be called Paradise Now. What are we waiting for? We can have paradise right now. So until I connect with you, or until you email me and we can connect, know that you're in my prayers every day. Whatever you're doing this week, remember that the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. That is the truth. Namaste.